Welcome to Grace Among Us, the podcast where we unearth the many faces and places of grace and share stories of the power of grace in our human lives. Our desire is that this will inspire you to see grace in your own life and share it with others.
I can touch her.
We're in the same room.
Yay! So, by God's grace, we are in the same time zone, in the same state, in the same room today, and excited to come in and talk about grace. And I'm so used to looking at the screen and all you guys, if you're watching, that it's hard to look this way and say hello.
So do I look at you or do I look at you?
I think you can do both if you want.
All right. All right. Very cool.
All right. So you know us. I'm Carri. That's Ebony. And we are here with a question, which is what we usually do.
Yep.
So, Ebony Gilbert.
Carri Adcock.
What are you grateful for today?
I'm so glad you asked. Today marks the 1-year anniversary of my stomach surgery. And you guys have heard me talk about it. It was a pretty large part of why I decided to even participate in this podcast to begin with. And to be sitting here a year later with all the feels. And I'm looking at the clock like I was still asleep at this time. And I'm playing through everything, and I'm so grateful. I've already eaten 4 times today. So to be sitting here without a stomach a year later and eating and drinking, I got some sinus crap. I assure you and you that I feel a hell of a lot better than I sound, but I'm so grateful. So grateful for every step of the way.
That's a big thing to be grateful for.
It's big.
It is big.
It's big. I think you can make the decision to be bitter and say that was been a hell of a year. And make it kind of a gasp and not a good feeling. Or I could really look back and say, what a long ways I've come, and really magnify the importance of grace on that journey and the importance of having gratitude so I can see the grace. And I'm just really grateful today. And to be here with you, who's kind of been there the entire time, makes it even richer. It's juicy.
It is juicy.
It's juicy.
It is juicy. And I appreciate that. And it has been, I am grateful to be on this journey with you. I am grateful to have gotten to bear witness to God's grace in the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you earlier today in another community say it's been a year, and I honestly was not tracking the exact day. And when you said that, it was just, it's that it's like a reflection of grace. It's like, holy moly. Like, part of it feels like a long time ago.
Right.
Part of it feels like a month ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a miracle.
It's definitely a miracle. And we've talked about the little miracles and the big miracles. This was a big miracle.
It was.
And a series of small miracles, but it was a big miracle. And I don't know. I got all the feels.
Can you name some?
I'll try to be descriptive here. I mean, obviously gratitude, but I'm not going to make it sound like it's all Pollyanna. There's been some sadness. There's been some reflection of, what did I lose? What have I gained? Do the gains outweigh the losses? A year ago, would I have seen myself here today? All of the worst things I thought, all of the fears I had a year ago, were any of them real? Do any of them even pan out? How do I apply that to the next challenge? How can I encourage someone who's going through something similar? What's my purpose? What's my mission? How am I doing? really tapping into how are you doing, not on a physical level, but on a purpose and intentionality. I'm saying the wrong word. Intentionality. Is that the word?
Mm-hmm.
In a very intentional way, how am I doing with this new life God has given me? Am I doing the right thing? Should I be doing more? It's just this overwhelming tsunami of wow.
That's a lot of feels.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just wow.
So if you don't mind, for people who this might be the first podcast they hear, or they may not have, it was a year ago, and I'm going to set it up, but
Okay.
you correct me. It was a year ago today that Ebony had her entire stomach removed due to cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a whole process prior to,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously a process after,
Mm-hmm.
that, as you say, wasn't all unicorns and rainbows.
It was not.
And you're sitting here today,
Mm-hmm.
and can you talk about the process up to a year ago today?
Yeah, the first word that comes to mind, Carrie, is fear.
Yeah.
I was terrified. And to back up a little bit further, probably 2 years prior to the surgery, it was mentioned to me because I had been battling stomach cancer for a while. And the intervention at the time was every 6 months we'll go out and scrape out your stomach lining, which is unpleasant. Can we say that?
Yes.
Unpleasant.
I could probably use other words.
So I had been through 5 iterations of that.
Oh, wow.
There wasn't much left to scrape. So it was mentioned 2 years before the surgery, you may get to a point where we'll have to remove the top portion of your stomach. And they gave me all the risk and everything, and I was adamantly opposed. Adamantly opposed. I'm like, food is the joy of my life. Like, I'm not doing that. And it just goes to show when you're in one season of your life, your no can be so strong and you can have so much conviction about something. And time will happen, life will happen, and that will change. So by the time a year passed, I was told that I was healed. There was nothing showing up on my scans. I didn't feel any better. And I spent a full year fighting for my life. Basically knowing what I knew, but the medical reports not adding up. And I'll speed this up a little bit. It took a long time for the medical field to see it. By the time they saw it, it was much worse. Acknowledge it, and then decide it could be fixed. So it was not seen. It was seen. There was nothing they could do. Now I'm punishing myself for not listening. And then there was, we have this one last ditch effort. You can take out the whole thing. And the risk factors, it was a list of risk factors this month. So I was scared. I was terrified. I just could not see my life on a feeding tube. I couldn't see my life without my career. I couldn't see my life outside of the lane that I had been in for so long. I couldn't imagine a year of recovery. 12 to 18 months of recovery, that just seemed daunting. Yeah. I couldn't imagine going through all of that and it not work. So yeah, to be sitting here a year later, I'm calling it a year anniversary. It's really like a 4 or 5 year anniversary of, I didn't know if I could do this. And the truth of the matter is I couldn't. I had people like you. I had a lot of grace with myself, with others, from God. And, you hear the things about he's going to blow your mind and he can do so much more than you can think. I couldn't think of this. I didn't. Yeah. And it's I got all the feels.
This is how I celebrate.
So what are you celebrating?
I am celebrating you, my dear. I am celebrating God's grace in your life. I'm celebrating your openness and your ability to express like the magnitude in very simple words. It expresses the magnitude of his work in your life and your willingness to show up. As you were speaking about that, I have not known you for 4 or 5 years. I've known you for a year and a half-ish, pretty much very close to a year and a half. And I have had the privilege of getting to bear witness to your journey. I almost said to experience this with you, and that would be very much an overstatement.
You think so?
I think that's a really good question.
I don't, can I disagree with you?
Yes, you can.
When I'm in it, it's hard for me to be empathetic to what everybody around me is feeling. It's difficult. I try, but I'm in it.
Yeah.
So I would dare say I'm pretty oblivious to your experience. I don't know how you felt. I don't know I can guess. I can make my own assumptions, but it's in hindsight. Because at the moment, I'm just really trying to live.
Yeah.
But I think your experience, the experience of everyone who was around me, is far more common than my individual experience going through this.
I hear you.
I was the minority in this situation.
Yeah.
I was one of me.
Yeah.
There were several other people who had to experience it from the audience. If I'm on the stage, I see the microphone in front of me. I don't see the band behind me. There's so many lights in my face, I can barely see what's in front of me. You get to see all of it.
Yeah.
So your vantage point is very different than mine. And I would absolutely call that an experience.
I hear you.
Different.
Yeah.
But absolutely call it an experience. And I would dare say that your experience would probably resonate with people more so than me saying, hey, it really sucks to be cut on. But you know what I mean?
Sucks to have your stomach removed. Yeah.
I was hungry. I think I think your experience would likely probably speak volumes.
Well, I hear that, and I appreciate that it was an experience.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. I'll receive that. It was an experience. As you were talking about your experience, one of the things that came to mind that I wanted to share, and then I'll go back, is this woman, although I wasn't there at the hospital, she was like a ray of light going into this surgery. That's what I hear. That's what I heard from you. That's what I understood from the beautiful people who got to be there physically with you. And I do want to just touch on what allowed you. I mean, I imagine it starts with a G, either a big G or a little g or both. Like, what allowed you to, can you just talk a little bit about showing up in that way, to have a large piece of functional, a large function of your person being removed in a pretty big life change?
I think the first thing that comes to mind, and you guys know I love to talk in metaphors.
Yes, do it.
It can rain for 3 days, and there's somebody over here who's thinking, oh my God, it's going to rain. I'm going to miss my tennis match. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to miss. And then there's somebody over here who's been in a drought. And my land can't be nourished without this rain. Mm-hmm. This rain is going to save my life. Yeah. I was in a drought. And I needed the rain. And if it came with lightning and thunder, I needed the rain. So I was okay with the storm because I needed it. And I knew the storm was going to nourish me. And I knew it would take some time for the floods to dry up and recede. I knew it would take some time. I knew the lightning might strike some things. I knew the thunder was going to be scary. But I prayed for the rain. And God sent it. And the simple fact that somebody agreed to do this surgery, the simple fact that my family the timing was lined up so they could all be there. There were so many things that fell into perfect place that even when I tried to be anxious, my mind would trigger back to, there's so much hope just in knowing that I have the opportunity and I need the rain. So I welcome the thunder. I'm good with the lightning. I'm good with the flood because the floods will recede at some point.
Yeah.
And my land will be nourished. My land, my physical body. At the time, I thought it was my physical body. The land ended up being my spiritual growth, my mental well-being, my emotional well-being. There was so much restoration and transformation from that storm in my life. And I can't remember who said this to me. I don't know if it was you or somebody else. That cancer wasn't the problem, it was the answer. And every day that went by, I saw it more and more. It's like God opened my eyes. And all of a sudden, the grace glasses and the gratitude lens, and there was no challenge that felt bigger than the magnitude of, thank you for the rain. This rain is going to save my crop. This rain is going to, propel my purpose. This rain is going to put me in my ministry. This rain is going to clean me up. It's going to wash away all the old stuff. It's going to bring on the new. And it felt like harvest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And my question, it does make sense. And I don't know that that's possible without faith.
I don't think it is. So I thought I had faith.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I was pretty convinced. I'm a believer. I've always been a believer. I had faith. And I had that mustard seed faith. Everybody in my life watered that seed. You put water on that seed. My family fertilized that seed, and that faith grew. And it became like a beanstalk. That thing got big. And when I would have a limb fall off that tree, I'm going to keep going with the metaphors.
Yeah.
Somebody would come and shred it up for me and make it into something else useful. Or if the wind blew a little too hard and I felt a little rocky, one of my family members or friends or you or whoever would come and anchor themselves next to me. So it wasn't just my faith. I needed the faith of everyone around me. We had to touch and agree. We had to be on the same page of, he will do it. He will do it.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, it's still going to be okay. And that was the more difficult part. But yeah, it took faith, but it wasn't the faith I grew up with. It's been so much easier in my life to have faith when things have a probability of going well.
Mm-hmm.
Having faith when there's really not good odds is a different thing. And I needed a support group. I needed a community. I needed you all so much in a way that I'm comfortable saying today. A year ago, I wasn't so comfortable saying that. And I think part of this podcast, part of Grace Among Us is we need community.
Yeah. Because
my faith will blow down sometimes. And sometimes my mustard seed needs to be watered. It needs to be fertilized. And as much as I would like to put my headphones on, listen to a sermon, listen to a good song, sometimes I need people. I need a hug. I need to be able to say, hey, I need something more. And yeah, I'm rambling. It's more than just my linear faith.
I hear you. It reminds me, it's like when elephants, like a herd of elephants, if they have somebody who is sick,
mm-hmm.
they actually hold them up.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and faith is, I love that idea of watering the mustard seed.
You got to fertilize it.
Yeah, because you have to have the seed to begin with.
Right.
But what gets done with that seed?
Mm-hmm.
It takes a community.
It does.
It takes, it takes more than just ourselves.
Yeah.
And to your point, the experience that I got to have,
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in the hospital. I wasn't faced with death.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't faced with all these things. And one of the feels in the beginning of the process was just sheer anger. I was pissed.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wasn't pissed at you.
No, I get it. I get it.
But I was pissed, and I can tell you, and I can say intellectually, and I say it all the time, why it's not a spiritual question.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean I don't ask it anyway.
Why?
Yeah. Why is this happening?
Mm-hmm.
And deep sadness.
Mm-hmm.
And another feel is, I want to fix this.
Right.
Right. And by God's grace, and for those who are, love somebody who's going through something like this,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to cheer you up.
Great point. Great point. Say more.
I will. So what I want to do is I want to make it better.
Okay.
I want to fix it. And part of it is because I don't want to see you go. Right?
Right.
The other part of it is I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like to say that because that's a little self-centered.
That's what we tend to think, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I also, so when I get in that place of I want to fix it,
mm-hmm.
and I don't want to be comfortable or uncomfortable, excuse me. If I try to connect to you from that place,
mm-hmm.
it doesn't go well. And here's why it doesn't. Some of the things that'll come from that place are it's not that bad, or it's all going to be okay.
It's going to be fine.
It's going to be fine. I know this is going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know what happens in you. Like, how does that feel for you?
On this side of it, I'm okay.
Yeah.
On this side of it, nobody knows what to say.
Yeah.
Nobody knows this is going to happen, and I can offer grace. At the time, and you weren't guilty of this, but at the time, I heard a lot of, it's going to be okay. And I didn't know if people were prophetically telling me they didn't, or if it was just something to make them feel better. And I got to the point where I would just kind of tune it out. I'd be polite, I'd be cordial, but I just tuned it out because it began to feel like noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
It felt like noise, and it felt lonely. It's like I'm telling you how bad it is, and you're telling me it's not.
Yes. Thank you.
And I'm thinking, can you not hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying this to comfort me? Is this to comfort yourself? What was happening in this moment? So to numb out all those questions, to numb out all that uncomfortable space and the weird, awkward conversations, we'll just smile and nod and say, we'll keep you posted,
Yeah.
Pray for me. And just leave it like that. And then I had my core group, and you were in it, where I could be vulnerable and I could say, I'm really concerned about not being able to eat chicken again. I could say the things that sounded silly. I'm really concerned about having this stuff up my. I could say all those things without the pressure of feeling the need to reassure everybody in the room.
Yeah.
So today, grace, offer grace. Because no one knows. No one takes a class in high school and college about how to do this. At the time, my selfish thought was, why aren't they giving me grace and understanding?
Yeah.
But that was my experience.
I hear you.
Holding the mic.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I want to offer to anyone who's got a loved one who is going through something. I'll speak for myself. When I can't understand it, I'm not happy about it. I'm afraid I'm going to lose somebody. I want to show up. I want to be there. I can overcomplicate or just complicate it, period.
Mm-hmm.
And think I have to have something prophetic to say, or I have to do something. And what I learned in the process is I just have to acknowledge it and not negate anything that you're experiencing. Because when I go to negate it or say it's going to be okay, I'm not having an experience with you.
Correct. That's so true, man. This is such a transparent conversation.
This is juicy.
This is good stuff. There were two people, my best friend since elementary school and my little sister, who are profoundly good at just sitting and stuff with me, you know?
Yeah.
And they would say things. I was with both of them the night before. We stayed up to maybe 2, 3 in the morning. And they at no point did they try to comfort me.
Yeah.
You know, they're bad. But they would say things like, "This really sucks."
Yes.
Or they would say things like, "I don't want to do this tomorrow." You know, but their level of transparency and honesty made me feel so much better. Because I was thinking, I don't want to do it either.
Yeah.
So if they had been cheerleaders, it would have taken me out of feeling what I was feeling in the moment.
Yes.
Which was not a knock on faith. I still believed.
Faith does not take emotion away.
It doesn't come without fear.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a guy in the Bible who had to take his son to a mountain. You might know the story. You think he wasn't scared walking up that mountain?
Oh my goodness.
Doing exactly what God told him to do? Yeah. And then he gets to the top of the mountain and God says, you don't have to do that. The walk up the mountain sucks. It's still upward. Yeah. I'm still following the instructions. I'm still on the right path. But there's fear.
And you got no idea what the outcome's going to be.
I don't know what's up there.
Yeah.
I have no idea. So the fact that those two people, specifically them, were like, well, we're going to go with you.
Yes, yes.
But we really would prefer to get in an RV. We really want some binoculars to see what's ahead. You know? Is there a ram in the bush up here? You know, like, it was just very, very comforting. And it inserted humor into a very dark time. And it inserted, we can cry together.
Yes. I have a dear friend who you know who you are, who will say, we'll just sit in the ashes together.
We'll just sit here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll just sit here.
And I encourage anybody who is, sit in the ashes. Sit. Mm-hmm. Just sit. Just acknowledge this does suck.
This just sucks. And they didn't stay there. There's a time and place for everything.
Yes.
But there was so much comfort in them extending grace to me. Because I already felt like a freak of nature. I was feeling all the things I was feeling. And I think if in that moment they had tried to force me to feel something else, I would have felt even more out of place and more isolated and more lonely. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful for your, hey, I was mad. That feels better to me than it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
Maybe it ain't.
Yeah, exactly. So can we connect on that?
Yeah.
Can we connect on all the points? Right.
Where do we start? You first.
Like literally connect
Literally.
on all the points.
Yeah.
I was meaning in that process, connect on all the points. Oh, are we gonna wrap it up?
We're gonna.
This is so much fun.
We have no
It's
concept
so much
of time
fun.
when we're together.
I know. Oh my gosh, Ebony, I do want to ask one more small question. So we started off with, and this is kind of a wrap up too. We started off with, what are you grateful for? It is a big day. I'm so glad you're alive. I'm so glad we're here.
Yes.
I'm so glad we're talking about this. I mean, I have immense gratitude for just this.
Me too.
And, we talk about grace, which I think we have inserted in. Grace has been large and in charge in this conversation. And you touched on it about how does grace play into gratitude, or how do they interact with each other?
I think when you choose to look at things, you ask a question. In several podcasts we've done, how can I be grateful for this?
Yeah.
I think when you look at things from that perspective, you can see where grace has been there the whole time.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah.
You can see that the flood is not to bring devastation. You can see that this is going to make me better. You can see that the thing that I'm trying to hold on to is the thing that was destroying me. And on a very literal sense, I thought I needed a stomach to enjoy food. It didn't. Food tastes so much better now. But I didn't know. I didn't know.
You weren't up at the top of the...
I wasn't at the top of the mountain.
Yes.
And I think grace allows us to be comfortable with the fact that there's something at the top of the mountain you can't see. Mm-hmm. And it's grace. And it's been prepared and it's waiting for you. It's waiting. And when you're grateful for the journey, you're grateful for the comfort and security that comes in knowing you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you can lean on grace. The comfort is grace. What's at the top of the mountain is grace. The courage to take that walk is grace. God is gracing. I don't think grace is a one-time thing. I don't think it's like, here it is, and now it's done. It's not like Morgan Freeman's voice, and now you have grace. He is gracing me actively, presently, future, past. It's a constant thing. You don't wake up and say, well, I breathed today. No, I am breathing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He is gracing me. And when you have that type of gratitude in your heart and that level of expectation, because I know who my Father is, I just know that, then the gracing becomes a state. I
love that. It is a state.
It's a state.
It is a state of being.
Yes.
And gratitude for me is the key that unlocks that door to that state. It's like we don't plan these.
We don't.
But we do have a little chitty chat before we start. And sometimes we look like this and sometimes we're dancing. Anyway, we might film one of those one day.
We should.
We should. Okay. All right. It's on the list. But we were talking about the gratitude glasses.
Yes.
And it really we got to watch a movie.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen it, it's called Free Guy. And if you have seen it, when he puts what's his name? Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds is in a video game. I won't say much else except he puts these glasses on and it's like all of a sudden it's like a whole new world. There's all these choices and there's first aid kits and there's, super strength and and that's what gratitude does.
That's the gratitude glasses. Yeah. In the movie, we're tongue in cheek here with the movie, but he's getting beat up. He's getting his butt kicked.
Yeah.
He's losing. And he puts the glasses on and suddenly he can see all the things he can grab.
Yeah.
and his strength comes back.
Yes.
And he's smarter. And he has the tools. And he pulls out a shield. And he has access to all of these things that he didn't have without those gratitude glasses, which we're calling them. So if you put your gratitude glasses on, all of a sudden you have a shield.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you got a first aid kit to help those wounds that have been ripping you apart. All of a sudden your strength is coming back. And all these tools and resources and I'm visualizing it, that's grace. But you got to put your glasses on.
Absolutely.
You get to make a decision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, just because you have the glasses on, it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt.
Right.
It doesn't mean you're not angry.
Everything
it
else is
doesn't
still
mean
happening.
You're not sad. This isn't like la 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 la, right? But it opens up all the opportunity.
There's repair. There's restoration. All these things are ours for the taking, but you can't see them.
Yeah. Rebirth. Yes.
Rebirth. Excuse me. And you get to do that daily.
Hourly.
Sorry. Rebirth.
I think that's a great way to close.
I'm getting all choked up.
Coffee.
No. Great way to close. This is a sign.
Yeah.
That we're wrapping up.
Yes. So happy birthday. Happy rebirthday.
Thank you.
I'm so glad I could be here with you.
Me too.
Yeah. And thank you guys, ladies, gentlemen. Until next time.
Grace out.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know. We love to hear from you, and share it with a friend. Also, please be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. We hope you're leaving with another pointer to grace, a new perspective that will light it up in your own life. Until next time, be well, be bold, be kind to yourself, and be on the lookout.